So, how much can you afford to spend on a home? Well, at the end of the day, that's up to you. There are some hard and fast rules that you have to adhere to, and there's plenty of advice out there in the ethos telling you how much your monthly payment should be based on your gross monthly income and how much debt you should take on based on your lifestyle choices. But in this video, I'm going to give you the basic facts about how much you will qualify to borrow from a lender, which will then allow you to determine your maximum purchase price on a home. I am not a licensed lender, so please refer to your lender of choice for more specific questions or advice. The first thing you have to consider when looking to buy a home is the down payment. A down payment is the money you're going to pay at closing to secure your new home. If you're buying a home for $100,000, you can pay a down payment of $20,000, get a loan for $80,000, and then pay that $80,000 off over the next 15 to 30 years. You get to choose your down payment. However, the down payment you choose will greatly impact the price of your loan. Yes, it is not free to borrow $80,000. The lender is going to charge you several fees to borrow that money, the biggest one being interest payments. If you pay a down payment of $20,000 at closing, your monthly mortgage payment, which is the money you owe each month to pay off the $80,000 you borrowed to buy the home, might be $500. Whereas if your down payment is $10,000, your monthly mortgage payment might be $550. There are several different types of loans available on the open market, including some that are backed by the government directly, such as FHA, USDA, and VA loans, and others that are not directly backed by the government. Now, this isn't a course on the mortgage industry, so we're going to focus on what these loans mean to you. Depending on your credit score, you can qualify for a loan to purchase your new home with as little as 3% down, meaning you can buy a $100,000 home with as little as $3,000 down. Or on the other side of the spectrum, you can put 50% down or more and buy a $100,000 home with $50,000 down. The choice is yours, and this decision will drastically alter your monthly mortgage payment. The most important thing to understand when choosing your down payment is if you put less than 20% down on your home, almost all lenders will then require you to pay for mortgage insurance, which is an additional fee you will have to pay each month on top of your interest and principal. Interest is the fee that a lender will charge you each month to borrow the money. Principal is the amount of money you owe to the lender. So if you borrow $80,000 to buy a home, over 30 years, you will have to pay the lender $80,000, which is your principal. And for example, an additional $40,000, which is your interest, or the fee the lender is charging you to borrow the $80,000 today. Mortgage insurance is an additional fee that is only charged to people who use a down payment of less than 20%, because in that case, your lender is not going to have your loan insured by Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac, which are private institutions that were formed by the US government to buy debt from lenders so that they can be certain they'll be getting their money back, even if you don't pay them. Yeah, I know, it's all confusing, but all you need to know is if you want to borrow money, you'll have to pay interest. And if you don't want to pay even more fees to borrow the money over the long term, then you'll need to put at least 20% down as a down payment. Even if you do put less than 20% down today, whenever your equity to principal ratio reaches 20%, which could be in, 5 years if you choose to put down 15% today, at that point, you'll be eligible to stop paying mortgage insurance. So it's really only a temporary thing. After the down payment, the next thing you'll need to understand is your debt to income ratio. The absolute maximum in almost all cases for your debt to income ratio is 50%. Most experts recommend you fall somewhere between 43 to 45%, but again, this is up to your own discretion. Lenders determine your debt to income ratio by calculating two things: your total monthly debt obligation and your gross monthly income. So let's say you have a student loan payment of $250 per month and your salary pays you $2,500 before taxes. If you want to buy a house for $100,000 and your loan is going to cost you $450 per month, you have to add your current debt of $250 plus your new debt of $450 to get your debt to income ratio. In this case, your debt would be $700 per month and your income is $2,500 per month. So your debt to income ratio would be 27% and you'd easily be able to qualify for your loan. Another important thing to consider when getting your money together to buy a home is that you will also have closing costs. Closing costs are one-time fees required to transfer the property from the seller to the buyer and can include stuff like application fees, recording fees, prepaid intent fees, survey fees, and maybe even more stuff. These costs can vary between 1 to 5% of your loan price. Closing costs are often covered mostly by the buyer while the seller pays for other expenses like the real estate agent's commission fees. It's a good idea to ask your real estate agent to find out how much the anticipated closing costs will be based on which title company you'll be using and which lender you'll be using. These costs are part of your offer to purchase and thus can be included in negotiations. The last thing to understand when figuring out how much you can afford to buy is your credit score. I'll include an entire video in this course about improving your credit score for those who are interested, but all you need to understand about your credit score is that it affects two primary things. Number one, whether or not a lender is willing to lend you money. And number two, how much interest a lender is going to charge you to borrow that money. Interest rates are constantly in flux, but if you have a credit score of 740 or higher, you should be eligible to lock in the best possible rate available on the market. The lower your credit score, the harder it will be to find a lender who's willing to offer you a good interest rate. To put this in perspective, looking at your $80,000 loan with an interest rate of 5%, you might pay $500 a month for your mortgage. Whereas with an interest rate of 7%, you might pay $525 for your mortgage. So I wouldn't get too stressed out about your credit score. Your purchase price and down payment will have the largest impact on your monthly mortgage payment. And in some cases, you can even pay an extra premium to buy down your interest rate even further if you're not happy with it. There are a lot of free tools available online that can help you figure out how much your mortgage payment will be and how much you can afford to buy. So I'd recommend you check them out and play around with them a bit. And of course, discuss this in great deal with your lender as soon as you're seriously considering buying a home. So to review, if you want to buy a home for $100,000 and minimize all fees, you should have $20,000 as a down payment, $5,000 ready for closing costs, and a debt-to-income ratio of around 45% based on the purchase price of the home you want, and a credit score of 740 or higher.